Congress Johnny Cole Torres, Treasurer.
KUAM TV8, first on Guam. KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, protecting Micronesia for 85 years. Matson and the Adahi Itano program. Apply at matson.com. New Jeep Gladiators up to $7,000 off now at Cars Plus. Named the best vehicle for adventure in 2024. Get your Jeep Gladiator today at Cars Plus. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime.
Will senators pass a bill to allow public schools awaiting public health inspections to open? Senators discussing Bill 317 on day 4 of emergency session.
And a life-saving medicine accessible through a vending machine on Guam amid the national drug crisis.
Ready to give it their all, we talk with 3 women flexing their strengths in Team Guam ahead of their Olympic events. I'm Nick Delgado with a story as we also prepare for 2 athletes from the Marianas going up against each other in the women's 100-meter sprint.
Hafide and good evening. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Tomas Manglona.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Happy Fresco Friday, and thank you so much for ending your week with us. Well, as the start of the school year inches closer, lawmakers enter day 4 of emergency session to weigh out Bill 317.
Here's more from session floor.
It's day 4 of emergency session as lawmakers continue to discuss Bill 317, a measure seeking to allow 19 public schools to operate this upcoming school year as they await sanitary inspections by public health. But are senators any closer to deciding on the bill? For Committee Chair on Education, Senator Chris Barnett, not before introducing an amendment to legislation he says lets GDOE off the hook for another year. The author of Public Law 37-4 pushing for the requirement of an ad hoc task force to walk through schools, observe conditions, and report their findings to the school community.
These schools have been awaiting inspection since the start of school year 2023. And so if this bill passes, these schools will be going in their 2nd year with no engagement other than these self-inspection reports.
And while his proposed amendment didn't garner enough support to pass, Speaker Therese Terlahi introducing another safeguard with her amendment to ensure schools aren't sitting idle waiting for inspections.
They have to be ready enough to ask for an inspection. And while they're waiting for that, after having asked for one, then they can operate. But if they're just awaiting, they can wait for 5 years. But this, according to public health, will put a little bit more fire underneath them.
To note, Public Health's Division of Environmental Health Inspectors carry inspections out based on GDOE's readiness and request, the body passing the amendment after it previously failed. The Speaker also making another attempt to delete the section of Bill 317 that seeks to give GDOE superintendent the discretion to decide if schools that have failed inspections can operate. Author of 317, Senator Dwayne St-Nicholas speaking out in opposition to the amendment.
I've realized that some people put in stuff in the bill to kill the bill. You know what's going to happen if I withdraw this bill? The schools will close.
The body taking an hours-long recess.
Tomas, we are just 1 day away from primary day.
That's right, Destiny, and earlier today I was at the GEC for what you need to know as you cast your vote tomorrow. And now we're joined with the GEC Executive Director Maria Pangilinan. Of course, primary day is tomorrow, August 3rd, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. is when you can vote. And so, Ms. Pangilinan, can you just tell us what you're looking for? The people.
A lot of voters showing up. We look forward to them showing up from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And we also look forward to the Election Return Center where we will tabulate their votes.
All right, and so we're going to go ahead and let our viewers know of all the polling sites. Is there anything they should know as they go out to vote, where they should go, what they should bring?
Please bring your photo ID. It has to be validly issued, which means simply that it could be expired, just so long as it was valid when it was issued. We also have accessible voting services. That's for persons with disabilities who cannot get into the polls. So there will be a canopy, and persons with disabilities and their loved one can just drive up to the canopy and get serviced right in the car.
All right, and when primary day ends and we get those results, then we're on a different timeline ahead of the general. And I understand that there's still also time to register, right, if you didn't vote in the primary?
That's correct. It's time to register. As soon as Monday, August 5th, you can start registering to vote for the general election if you're not already registered. Between the primary and general, the law does not allow for the change in voting district.
All right, and I'm sure we've heard it all through the past few weeks, but you got to vote on one side of the ballot, right?
Yes. Please make sure you vote on only one side of the ballot. Otherwise, the entire ballot will not count.
And remember, you can verify your registration and polling site at gec.guam.gov.
That's right. Well, again, tomorrow is the primary election, so remember, polls open bright and early, beginning at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. So make sure you head out and make your vote count.
Then beginning at 10 p.m., Team KUAM will go live on TV 11 and stream on YouTube and Facebook with all your Decision 24 election coverage, so watch and stay up to date. And there are disturbing new details after a man was found dead on Saipan Thursday night at the Garapan fishing base. CNMI Department of Public Safety Commissioner Anthony Macaranas identifying the 72-year-old victim as Pedro Pangilinan Cabrera. The case is being investigated as a homicide, and authorities have identified 2 persons of interest. Cabrera was found by a person in the area along the shoreline on top of rocks. Police say it is possible that an incident began in Cabrera's home in San Jose Village before his body was brought to Garapan. They are waiting for an official autopsy to confirm the time of death. Cabrera had several injuries to his face, and authorities are waiting for a search warrant to officially process the crime scene. DPS told KUAM that he was previously incarcerated for murder and rape. The investigation is ongoing.
The man caught on surveillance footage robbing Liberty Game Room in Mighty while brandishing a knife has been arrested. On Wednesday, 36-year-old Arfin Rakat was picked up by Guam police officers after they received information from a woman who recognized Rakat in the story KUAM aired. As we reported, a man had forced his way into an office area, pushing a woman on the ground, stomping on her cell phone and fleeing on foot with an undisclosed amount of cash. The owner's son told KUAM that the man was a regular customer at the game room. Rakat confessed to the robbery and states that he used the stolen money to buy methamphetamine, cigarettes, and betel nut. He was charged with second-degree robbery, criminal mischief, theft, and aggravated assault. He was booked and confined at the Department of Corrections prison.
Guam Behavioral Health says it's clear fentanyl is here.
And they're hoping to prevent its deadly impact by making a life-saving medication more accessible through a vending machine. Here's more.
A vending machine outside of the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center provides free naloxone used to reverse an opioid overdose. Since they installed it in March, 383 kits have been used by the community.
It tells us, number one, we're hoping, and this I think affirms that our message is becoming clearer and clearer. Fentanyl is here.
The plan is to have more vending machines across the island where people might be more comfortable. They said naloxone is available over the counter at some pharmacies.
Naloxone is not only for fentanyl, it's for all opiates. It's an antagonist for all opiates, and we want to make it clear that just like in the United States where they're seeing these opiate misuse, Guam is also seeing that. So it's important to come here and get the supply. If you know of people, if you're worried about your family, you know, and all your loved ones, please come and get.
While the kits in the vending machine are free, each box costs the center $60. They have under 200 kits left. 90% of it is funded by federal grants. But with the nationwide crisis, they say sustainable local funding is needed. They're also focused on training and education around identifying signs of an overdose and how to use naloxone.
The main issue with an opioid overdose is that the body isn't getting enough oxygen. So we're going to look at the lips, the fingertips, if they start to look blue, if we listen for their breathing, if there is no breathing, then we're going to assume that an opioid has been consumed and is causing that overdose. So that's when naloxone comes into play.
The opioid prevention program is in its third year. They hope to prepare for when the next wave of drugs reaches Guam shores from the States.
Drugs, when they start off in the mainland, they usually do make its way to our island. It's just only a matter of time, which is why we've started our training of trainers. We established this in December. We had this on board since March. So we've been preparing for this and ensuring that the community has the resources like naloxone and the training to be better equipped to respond.
And today is the deadline for the community to submit public comments for the military's proposed missile defense tests. The Department of Defense wants to launch 2 flight tests per year for the next 10 years and claim there's no significant environmental impact. The comment period was extended for 30 days after the administration asked for more time amid pushback from landowners and other concerned residents.
Earlier this morning, local activist group Protei Lategzen braved the rain and peacefully protested at the entrance to Andersen Air Force Base in Jigo. They say the only acceptable alternative is the no action alternative. There's still time to submit comments before the end of the day. Just email info@gft-ea.com.
And as the administration continues to track defense spending on Guam amid the military buildup, they're concerned that small businesses may not have their fair share of competition with billions of dollars being spent annually.
Governor Leon Guerrero sending a letter to the Pentagon stating strongly urging the DoD to support small businesses. The letter addressed to Undersecretary of Defense Dr. William Laptain says the DoD can contribute to a more resilient, innovative, and secure industrial base by prioritizing open competition and maximizing opportunities for Guam's diverse small business community. She adds, by working together, we can create a thriving ecosystem in Guam that supports our national security interests and the prosperity of our community. To read the full letter, just go to KUAM.com.
We'll be right back.
Fridays on KUAM News, presented by Fresco Clothing, original custom design apparel of Guam and the Marianas, located in Hagåtña, just across from the Gani Shopping Center.
I love Guam, and I've been so humbled by your support. On Saturday, we have a choice. We can vote for the same old politics, or we can choose a new era of experienced leadership in Washington, D.C. I will make you proud, serving you in a Congress that I know well. I will show up and fight for you every day, and all who believe in Guam will find a partner in me. So please get out and vote Ginger Cruz for Congress. Guam's future is in your hands. I'm Ginger Cruz. I approve this ad, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Get ready to soak up the savings this summer at Kmart. Since 1995, Kmart has been the ultimate summer destination for everything you need. From groceries to outdoor living to everyday fashions for the family, we've been there for you, 24 hours a day. Kmart is committed to saving you time and money by offering big international and American brands you know, at prices incredibly low. Whether you're finding the perfect shade for that summer glow in our beauty care aisles, firing up your summer cookouts from top brands like Weber and Kenmore, or gearing up for those outdoor camping and beach adventures, Kmart's your one-stop shop for an active, fun-filled summer. So, join the fun and soak up the savings. You'll find everything you need and more, only at Kmart, the ultimate shopping destination in Guam, where savings quality and summer fun meet under one roof. Kmart, your 24-hour superstore.
I am Ann Leon Guerrero. I am voting for Joe.
I am Ernie Caceres. I am voting for Joe.
I am Rose Sebastian Mesa, and I am voting for Joe.
I am Kathy Leon Guerrero, and I'm voting for Joe.
I'm Hope Benavente de los Reyes, and I'm voting for Joe.
I'm Marilyn Tablante. I'm voting for Joe.
I am Deb Kenga. I am voting for Joe.
My name is Michael Gofigan Sebastian, and I am voting for Joe.
I'm Ray Younger. I'm voting for Joe.
I'm Benjamin D. Mesa Jr. I'll be voting for Joe.
I'm Pete Johnson, and I'm voting for Joe. Whoa.
Going for Gold is presented to you by Prime Hydration and C2O Coconut Water, distributed by PDC Wholesale. Here in the studio is a good friend of ours, Dr. Christiana Whitman. She is an expert in the field of mental health. And Doc, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Biba Liberation?
Biba Guam.
Okay, and and we all cheer Guam. We celebrate liberation. We also celebrate our athletes who are over in Paris competing right now. Now, of course, traditionally when we talk about like physical conditioning, they say, you know, like you work out, eat very well, get your rest, and then your body is in tip-top condition, and then you have to take a break at some point because you don't want to overdo it.
Right.
When it comes to the mind and your mental fitness, is it kind of like the same thing? You can't just be like, you know, mentally tough all the time, 24/7?
Absolutely, and I think that's where, again, having those skills and built into you, you know, from, you know, in your training, like that needs to be really incorporated into your training, and I hope that it is, right? What skills do you have to kind of debrief, you know, not just your physical self, right? You know, you have all these recovery techniques that you do physically, but also your mental health, right? How can we take a pause in between? How can we kind of, recover from all that really intense activity, right? Because I'm sure after a couple of weeks of going through that grueling effort and then those months and months, years of training, you need to like take a pause, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really difficult to do, right? You kind of have that like post-training experience, and I'm sure there's some sort of experience of like having to, how do you deal with that, right? Kind of like the withdrawals of the training and all those efforts, and then how much time do you give yourself to start again, right? I know some of these athletes don't give themselves that much time to, you know, kind of take a break, but
some of the ones that just found out they were on our Olympic team, they had 2 days literally, and then they headed off to Northern France.
Yeah, it's you know, it's impossible to imagine as like, I don't know another word, but you know, as a lay person, right? Someone who's not in that space. But I think again, building up those skills for like, how can I, what skills do I have in terms of taking care of myself, you know, and seeing just not like, I can't just be training for the physical side of it, but I have to also be training for the mental side of it, right? And like, so who's going to support me along the way? You know, you have your coaches to support you in the physical efforts, and who are your mental coaches, right? Who are your, and I hope that support system is available and in place for these athletes.
Going for Gold is presented to you by Prime Hydration and C2O Coconut Water, distributed by PDC Wholesale. POV is brought to you in collaboration with United Airlines. Special thanks to the Office of the Governor of Guam.
Well, more events are unraveling as we hit the halfway mark of the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Nick Delgado has more from the athletes of Micronesia in your Pacific Olympic Voyage.
Bonjour from Paris. I want to first share a couple of personal bests for two from Micronesia who swam Thursday in the men's 50-meter freestyle. The first, Philip Kinono, representing Marshall Islands, finishing first in his heat with a time of 27.43. And representing Palau, Gian Jose, finishing in his heat with a time of 25.67. Again, personal best for both. Good job to them. Now, we also got to speak with three from Team Guam at the Olympic Village ahead of their events. Take a listen.
Hapaday, my name is Mia Aquino. Hapaday, I'm Raquela Aquino. Real good. Our sport's wrestling, so right now I'm just focusing on my weight cut, and I'm tracking pretty well.
But every day I'm just trying to refine technique, trying to get ready for that competition. Also try not to get too nervous, because it's been our dream since 4 and 5 to come here to Olympics and compete, and now that we're finally here, it's like, I don't want to get stage fright.
It's the first for me. It was the first together.
Yes, I competed in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
Not only to, of course, you know, the main thing is to compete and perform, but of course is also to take in the Olympic spirit, you know, with respecting our athletes, respecting each other, of course aim for excellence, and, you know, just to really enjoy the different festivities for the Olympics.
I never thought I'll make it to this year's Olympics. Hi today, my name is Nicola Lagatao and I'm competing for weightlifting. Feel great. Right now I'm on my weight, so to be honest, I can't wait until the competition. So I'm ready. My goal for this competition is to snatch 63 kilos. So that would be 3 kilos from the last, 3 kilos from the last competition I did. And then for the clean and jerk, I'm hoping to hit 78, 79 kilograms. Yeah, so hopefully my goal for this competition is to hit all of my 3 lifts, 3 in snatch and 3 in clean and jerk, and hopefully PR by 5 kilos.
Watch Mia Aquino's wrestling match on August 7th at 7:30 p.m. Chamorro Standard Time. Michaela Aquino will compete the following day on August 8th, also at 7:30 p.m. And Nicola Lagatao's event is also scheduled for 3:30 a.m. August 8th KUAM time. Catch the Paris 2024 Olympics on KUAM TV 8 and streaming on Peacock. We're so very proud of our athletes, and you don't want to miss tonight's event immediately after prime time at 6:35 p.m. Team Guam's Regine Tagati and Team American Samoa's Fila Leonisa Jacopo, a Saipan native, are competing in the same heat in the women's 100-meter sprint. We'll have the results at KUAM News on social media. Nick Delgado, KUAM News, Paris.
And Team Guam's Regine Tagati is set to compete tonight in the women's 100-meter sprint. Cheer her on and show your support, and you can catch her in action at 6:35 p.m. And make sure to check out our social media profiles at KUAM News and NBCOlympics.com/schedule for the latest, so you'll know when your favorite events are coming up. Your local home for the 2024 Olympic Games is KUAM TV 8 and streaming on Peacock. For the first time ever, you'll be able to stream all 329 Olympic medal events, full events, replays, and a ton more. So this means you can watch all the events in which Team Guam competes.
Now for a look at your world at home.
Here's a view from Seaside Hawaii.
Whatever it was, when I needed help, I had a community and I had people who had my back. And so I want to continue building that kind of place for our kids here on Guam. Guam is my lifelong home. It really, truly is. Everything that I have done throughout my entire career as a young person has been in service to the people of Guam. But I feel a true, strong calling to serve our people in this capacity, to go to Congress and fight for everything that is due to our people, to ensure that we have parity, to ensure that we have true protection for our island, of all the things that make Guam good, that make Guam unique, our culture, our environment, our ocean, our land, everything that makes Guam Guam.
Shelly Calvo, successful entrepreneur, philanthropist, proud mother and grandmother. Shelly's broad experience spans from Silicon Valley management to chairing Guam's Homeless Coalition. As our senator, Shelly will create career opportunities for our next generation, pull people out of poverty, and will vigorously protect Guam's children from predators. Shelly is equal parts passion and compassion. If bringing values and unity to the legislature is important to you, please vote Shelly Calvo for senator.
I'm Shelly Calvo, and I approve this message.
Foodie Call is presented by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows.
Have a day, guys. Welcome back to another edition of Foodie Call. Today we're checking out our friends at Slingstone in Anigua to try their caramel cold foam cold brew with Devondale milk. Let's go.
Okay, welcome back to Slingstone, guys. Today we're going to be making our caramel cold foam cold brew with the Devondale milk. Here we have our caramel cold foam cold brew.
Alright guys, this is the caramel cold foam cold brew and we're gonna give it a try. Before we start, I'm just gonna shake it a bit, just kind of stir it up. Alright guys, first sip. Wow. You know, you can really taste the caramel cold foam. It adds like a really sweet flavor to the coffee, and even the Devondale milk kind of balances out, so it's not so much of a strong coffee taste, and you can really taste all the flavors well together. Just want to give a big thank you to our friends here at Slingstone and Devondale for bringing us out here and always taking care of us. That was it for today's edition of Foodie Call, and we'll see you guys next week.
Foodie Call is presented by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows.
Okay, hey everybody, our friends at Carabao Brewing are celebrating birthday number 5, and you know what they are doing? Off to School. They're having this amazing celebration featuring incredible music. Make sure to be there. You got to get tickets, so hit up guamtime.net. Starts at high noon, and please be there because they have this amazing lineup of incredible music. They're adding musicians all the time. You are going to be amazed. You are going to be well fed. Your ears are going to be happy. Your stomach's going to be happy. You're going to be happy when you go back to campus. All right, thanks to our friends at Carabao Brewing for making that happen. Please make sure to also participate in the 3rd annual Purple Gala. This is for victims advocates reaching out, and your generous support goes to support victims support services. The theme is Guput Samoro. That is of October at 6 p.m. Please get your tickets. Please be there. Please show your support. And thank you very much for supporting. Speaking of support, our friends of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce, they support each other, and they are having their August membership meeting for members. So please make sure to check it out. This is on the 7th of the month over at PIC. Love PIC. That's what's happening this weekend. We'll see you there.
Now to your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout-out submitted on KUAM.com.
And the winner of a yummy ice cream cake.
Happy birthday to Joseph Sateza. Your family and friends are sending you the very best love. Happiest of birthdays to a former KUMer and a dear friend, the one and only Carmen Victoria Terlahi. Happy birthday to you, Carmen. We miss you. Surprise! Francisca Navarro de Guzman, may your 80th birthday be filled with joy, surrounded by the sincere love that you've given to all of us. We love you, Nanay, says your adoring family. And Lucky and Rara Escamilla, the stars and moon are within your grasp. Happy birthday number 1 to the 2 twins. All right, very nice Friday birthday. I think it's the weekend already. It is the Friday birthday shout out, so that means Bob Onadera is this week's winner of a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake. And Bob's got a big family. Bob, we hope you share your ice cream cake. We hope you really, really enjoy. Personally, I like the strawberry one, but that's just me. I know Kobe's hoping for that one too, your wonderful, wonderful son. But Bob, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
That's your primetime show. Thanks for watching. I'm Tomas Manglona.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. And before we go, we just want to give a special thanks to our KUAM intern, Denise Pong. Thank you so much for interning here at KUAM. You can hear the applause back there in the control room. You've been such a pleasure to work with and such a great person to laugh with most of all. Have a safe evening and make sure you go out and vote tomorrow.
Thank you for your time, and just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself and your background to the community.
Thank you, Tomas. So yes, my name is Edith De Leon Guerrero, and my mother is Grace De Leon Guerrero Segla. She's also known as Ata Guerrero or Grace Guerrero. And I also come from a family of, people that serve the community. My uncle Larry, Lorenzo I. De Leon Guerrero, former governor. Larry Guerrero is also my mom's brother. So that is my family.
We're here to chat about your bid for re-election.
Yes.
And so we'll just start there. Why did you decide to run again and for this seat again?
Well, Tomas, first of all, thank you for reaching out to me and giving me the opportunity again to sit down with you and to discuss the reasons why I'm seeking re-election and why this particular office again. And so, as you see, a while back, it was between the U.S. delegate seat or returning back to the Senate. And so I did some soul searching. Of course, there's family. My mother herself is 79 years old, and I'm thinking, it would be very selfish for me to pursue the delegate seat, considering that my mom is of that age already, and I'm also taking care of her. And I want to make sure that, for whatever reasons, for the amount of time that she has here remaining, that I'm here should anything happen. So I couldn't find myself to leave my mother behind, basically. And so that's the reason why I forgo the desire to pursue the U.S. delegate seat and decided to just stay back and seek re-election for the Senate, for the 3rd Senatorial District. Yeah.
And you left the Democratic Party. We've interviewed you and we've done a story on why. You're now an independent. There is some talk, though, that you might actually run under the Republican Party. Do you want to address those rumors? Are you staying as an independent?
I hear it right. I'm staying independent, obviously. In fact, just 2 days ago, I filed my letter of intent with the Election Commission to run as an independent. I submitted not my paperwork yet, but just my letter of intent that I will be running under the 3rd Senatorial District as a senator, as an independent. So, yes, there's a lot of talk like that, and and that's normal. It's politics. I guess people are interested in knowing what exactly I'm doing or which party am I going to go into, and I left one party. But I've come out, in prior interviews that I am running independent.
And when you look back at your term, what would you say has been some of your biggest success? What are your accomplishments in this past term?
I've never changed my focus, and that's primarily transparency and accountability. I've always been raising the issues of financial concerns of our government and all the issues that we are facing with respect to finding the funds to support the necessary obligations that we have under our government currently. And I've never moved away from that, because I truly feel that if we have our financial house in order, and we are clear and transparent to the people, and we are accountable by coming out and always talking about it and letting them know that this is what's happening and this is where we're at. That's very important for us to move forward to try and resolve a lot of these financial issues that we are facing. And the majority of that too is we are a tourism economy. And as we know, that our numbers are not even close to where we were before the pandemic. We're not close to that number, and as you can see, there's a lot of vacant businesses that are up for rent. There's closures that are happening before our eyes. Hyatt just left, an airline just went, and again, we depend on that revenue to support our economy, and that's the reason why all of this conversation of the financial situation of the Commonwealth government for our people, for our sustainability, is very important.
And of course, that's also in line with a lot of the public records requests you've been submitting. In your words, you want to verify the numbers.
Absolutely, and I'll share some data with you. As we speak right now, we are addressing the FY25 budget. We are holding a ceiling of 158 point some million for the appropriation, and we have not taken down the required obligations that we have to take down from that amount of money. But there are particular programs that are also not funded, and it's not addressed under FY25 budget. In particular, we have a balloon payment that's coming up next year in August of about $19.8 million. We're short of that money. We got $10 million utilities for the CNMI government. That is not included in the FY25 budget. You have $5.7 million for the Health Network program, which is the medical referral. That is not included in the budget. Then you have $13 million, which is a 25% for the retirees. And speaking of that, if you remember, there was a letter that was sent to Joyce Tang by the governor that the $5.2 million that we took from the CEDA dividends is only good up to August of this year. And so that makes you think that you have a 1 month remainder of the current FY24 budget. Where are we going to find that money to keep that annuity paid out? And then you have 12 months out for the incoming FY25 budget of $13 million that we need to keep the annuitants whole. That's a big issue. And then you have $8.7 million that is not identified as funded under the FY25 budget for the group health and life insurance. That's for both the retirees and the active employees. So the overall underfunding is $57.2 million for FY25 for all of these programs. We have to be concerned. Like I said, we are a tourism-based economy, and the numbers are not there. There's a push to come at least at a comfort level by the HandMe and chamber organizations, which I support, to bring us up to at least 500,000 of visitors on an annual basis as a start, just so that we could sustain ourselves and stay afloat and prevent further closures of major businesses.
Hafa Guam. The election is this Saturday, and it is so important that you vote. Your vote doesn't just select who represents you, it tells elected officials what is important to you. If you vote for people who have been here fighting for you, elected officials will know that is what they need to do. If you vote for people who have delivered outcomes for you during the hardest times and put you first when it mattered most, elected officials will know that is what they need to do. If you don't vote, or if you vote for people that have never done that for you, politicians will know that being there for you and delivering for you does not matter to you. We believe in Guam. We've been here fighting for you. We've delivered outcomes for you. We believe that matters most of all to you. You speak with your vote, Guam. Let your voices be heard this Saturday. I'm Michael F. Cusa Nicholas, and I approve of this message because I humbly ask for your vote.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
And Senator, as the incumbent, I did want to ask you about some criticism I've heard of your, I guess your search for the funds. People say that you're providing false hope. Some people have told me that it's false hope, that, there's more money out there than what they're presenting. How would you respond to that type of criticism?
I wouldn't, again, people are at liberty to say how they feel. But again, we go back to the issue of transparency and accountability. And the biggest funding that we received during the pandemic period was the ARPA money. And we need to know, again, we have to look at the books of the Commonwealth. When you move money around, there's always going to be, at a certain time period, what is the balance of that book. And those are all validations that needs to be done. And then if they're there, then what are the obligations, if there's any, against those funds that may be available at that time period? That's purely accounting. That's financial management. You could say, we don't have this money today, but you tell us why you don't have that money today. Are there any obligations booked against that funding? Or are you expecting other obligations to come in later time period to go against that funding? And so that is the reason why it is very important that we look at it financially in that perspective. It's like managing your balance, right? You have to reconcile your account. You may write out a check today of $100, but you only have $50 in your account. So you are already negative 50. But that check of $100 will go out there in the market and float itself until it gets back into your bank account to draw that money down. by that time period comes back, you probably already made a deposit of $200. So you have a positive of what? $150. That's the point.
All right, thank you. And I did want to ask you about specific legislation. What legislation have you passed in your term?
You know, I became a senator. This is my 4th year now, so I do have 2 actually Senate bills that I introduced that became public law, and that's Public Law 2310 and Public Law 22-27. Yeah, so those are 2 particular legislations that became law, and I've introduced numerous others that are either vetting through committees right now or in the other house that are being looked at. And I introduced several resolutions. One prime example is the 902 consultation, which is organized by the governor already locally, and then now we're just waiting for the U.S. president to organize his team as well. And then the other resolution, of course, that I introduced is to urge the administration to go out and collect the 20-some million of underreporting of the NAP BGRT taxes. That's another resolution that I introduced, and numerous others.
I want to talk about other legislation, particularly those originating in the House. I know this has been reported on frequently, but I wanted to discuss it here in this forum in the context of your campaign about, the phrase is it's sitting in the Senate. A lot of the bills are sitting in the Senate. I know at the Chamber you also outlined those bills that are in committee. So can you just explain to the constituents, the voters, what your approach is as Senate President to getting bills through?
Sure. Let's look at it this way. When both houses are organized after elections, both bodies, the presiding officers, would create their standing committees for their particular house. And so the House have their own standing committees, the Senate also have their own standing committees. And each standing committee will be appointed by the presiding officer, which is in my situation, the Senate President appoints under the leadership who will be chairing particular standing committees at the request or desire of the leadership membership. And so that's how the process goes. And then with respect to legislation, let's backtrack a little bit. If we are creating these committees and we are drafting legislation and we are passing them at first and final reading, we have to think about why is it that we are creating committees. The intent of the committees is to do the work, to work through the process of that legislation, to seek public comments, to make analyses, to study the legislation, whether it's good for the people, whether it's good for the Commonwealth, and if there's any other issues that needs to be addressed and corrected and fixed. If we're not going to be looking at legislations in that right way of doing things, then we will be passing legislations at first and final reading, which is really not the way to do work up at the legislature. I've seen numerous bills will be passed at first and final reading. Work has not been thoroughly done, and it goes up to the Senate, for example, and now we do the due diligence of this particular legislation. We have to work that way. And not only that, Thomas, in every house, we talk about funding. When you have the leadership organization, you also have leadership money that goes into each committee. And so we must, as the public, we must look at that also to make sure that the funds that are being received by each particular standing committee is well spent, that really the work is being done, that it's not just money funneling through the standing committee and work is not going to be done. Then what is the purpose of us creating a committee, a standing committee, and appointing chairs of committees if the work is not going to be done? And just bills to pile up for nothing.
Hey Nick, you going viral? Yeah. I don't really try, I'm just athletic. I ain't really high, I'm just level-headed. Tell me why the click looking magnetic. Tell me in the city when I'm back in it.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
I want you to talk about the potential next 4 years if you are re-elected. What would you like to get done that you didn't or couldn't get done in your first term?
There's a lot of issues that requires time to be addressed, and all of them require funding. And I remember, and I still have it before me, employment opportunities for our people. We have got to go beyond the system of you have to have the right name attached to you in order for you to have that employment opportunity. We really need to shift that practice here in the Commonwealth, because a lot of our citizens are looking for that opportunity. And so I'm a believer of, if you have the capacity and the ability to do the work, employment opportunities should be opened up and let it become very competitive, for example. The other area is, I do know that there's a lot of outstanding land compensation that remains unpaid that requires funding. It takes us back to the health of our economy, and how can we address these pending land compensation cases that families have gone, but heirs remain alive today, and they're still trying to seek remedy and resolution to their outstanding payments, which the government has taken and using it for public purpose, but the families remain waiting for their compensation. We as a government, we need to address that, and that's the reason why funding is necessary. We need to make our economy healthy in order for us to address all of these obligations that we need to pay out. A well-managed and sound development of our precious islands. I introduced a Senate bill, for example, on land reclamation, and I am focused on the quarry. There's a lot of dormant quarries here in the Commonwealth that are open pits, and I truly believe that we as a government, we need to find a way to reclaim those properties back, because we could reclaim that real estate and turn it into something that could produce revenue for today and into the future. There's an article that I read, and it says it's no longer a hole in the ground, whereas other countries would build condos within the pit or turn it into a nice botanical garden, for example, for the tourists to visit. And so we need to explore those opportunities, and so that's one legislation that is still pending right now in one of the Senate committees. The other one, retirement fund for our retirees. I mentioned about the need to find the $13 million every year to keep that 25% whole within the 75% together and make it 100%. The settlement fund is only required to pay 75%, but the CNMI government, through our Constitution, is mandated to keep it whole. And that's the reason why it's always working to find the money to fork out the $13 million. This last one that we got, we took the CETA dividends to pay in whatever payroll that the 5.2 can pay out for the retirees' pension. Now we're short, we're gonna run into 1 month short before the end of the fiscal year, and then another 13 for FY25. The other issue that we are facing with the retirees is a lot of them are facing collections from the settlement fund on overpayments. Just before I came to see you, a retiree delivered her letter to my office, which is an offering of a settlement from the settlement fund after they reviewed her ability to look at her expenses and what is she able to pay back. But even with that amount of money on what is she being offered to settle on, it has greatly reduced her collection amount down 20%. But if, by looking at the calculation of the gross pay on the 75%, it's still a huge chunk of money that you're going to take down, that they're framing it into an installment payment for about almost 4 years. And then you have a last payment out. And the 25% is not included in that formula. Because why? The central government is the one that's funding the 25%, and if it doesn't have the money to fund, then you're talking about only 75% of this particular retiree, less the installment payment if she agrees to settle on that amount, which is very substantial because a lot of them have already, they're getting sick. After 10, 13 years of living on this income, all of a sudden the system who created the error is now going after these retirees and stressing them out. And they're worried. And they having, gone into other obligations to keep the family afloat. And you have this huge amount of money that's hovering over each person that is, trying to be collected on. And that's a serious concern. And so I introduced legislation also on that to address the issue. And that particular Senate bill is down at the House right now. CUC, power, the cost of electricity is not affordable at all. And that has to be looked into seriously with respect to the commodity that is coming into the Commonwealth and the pricing of that commodity at a certain time period when it was purchased. And how is the fact being calculated? That it became effective. For example, in the clause, it goes up or down, I believe 4.5% or 4.9%, something to that effect. But even with that, the bigger question is, when that particular commodity was purchased back then, that huge volume of fuel that came in, for example, what was the price at that time period when that contract was executed out in the market? And did that pricing of that commodity stay at that price when the fact was calculated, up or down, or did it go and move forward at the expense of the consumer? That particular work has to be done, and it takes a lot of work to go back and measure that commodity pricing during all those time periods when the fact became effectuated. That's a serious work in itself. I have done an oversight when I first became a senator. I believe my second year of being a senator, I did conduct an oversight with CUC, and I did ask the question about the contract for the fuel purchase. And I'll be very honest, to this day, I still can't get my hands on that fuel purchase contract. Because why I'm interested, I wanted to see for myself, where is the pricing of this particular commodity at, and when was it purchased? How is that purchase price affecting the consumer at the time period of purchase, and all the subsequent years when the fact became effectuated moving forward. Because I truly feel that somewhere in that contract, those purchases within the time period could benefit the customers. And it just requires dedication and time to look at those numbers and study it carefully and analyze it. And me not having my hands on the contract tells me something that perhaps maybe someone's don't want me to see certain numbers because I am asking the right questions. But it's not a dead issue for me, at least in the interest of our people. I will still pursue it in some way.
I did also want to ask you, a lot of people are curious to see where proposed tax hikes will go. What's your view on taxes? And
let's look at our economy today. Yes, there's several bills that have been introduced to increase taxes. And so let's ask the question of where do we stand today financially? I just laid out how much is underfunded. $57.2 million is not identified in FY25 budget. Our tourist numbers are down. We're not collecting the revenue as we used to in terms of the number of tourists that are coming in with the airlines. And so you have these tax bills on an economy that is not there in prior years before. And so the question would be, why weren't these tax bills introduced, right, when the economy was good? And when the economy is tanking, you reverse it out. You have to go with the way the economy is going.
So you don't support that?
Because, well, let's look at it this way. If you impose taxes, the price of goods and services will go up. Businesses may not necessarily stay open. And if they do, who do they pass that cost to? Us, the consumers. And then the spending power of people will go down. Because, again, the prices of goods and services will go up in the market. And there's also no opportunity for families to save money because everything is going to go up as a result of tax increase. There's one legislation to do construction tax, to increase taxes on those that are doing construction projects. If you analyze that carefully right now, by the way, all of those bills are still in the Senate Fiscal Affairs Committee being looked at, being analyzed. But let's use that particular sector as an example. You have the money that is given out to contractors to do construction projects. So you have the main contractor. You want to tax that contractor based on that money, but you also want to tax on the BGRT. And then from the same money, for example, that contractor may subcontract another contractor to do part of the project of the main contractor, but that's the same money. And so you already taxed this once, it goes down to the subcontractor. Now you're taxing the same money twice. And then it flows down to the next. Now you're going to tax it the third time. So all of these have to be carefully looked at, whether is it fair for the business, because on the flip side, again, the risk would be, would they stay in business, or are we going to hurt them when we are already generating the BGRT on a monthly basis where they have to file their taxes? So again, you know, when you do legislation, we go back to the original conversation of first and final reading. We want to push forward through just because we are urgently needing to generate revenues. But when it gets to the point of analyzing the impact, the pros and the cons of the legislation, what's going to happen? Is this something, is it sound to impose at the current market conditions of the CNMI?